everyone, and welcome to another episode of your favorite podcasts with your least favorite hosts.
What? Actually, kind of not wrong if you think about it. When we get the comments on YouTube.
The Reddit comments are the worst.
Oh, God.
Love the episode.
We have Reddit comments?
Yeah, I have a test group on Reddit. Give me feedback. Honest, horrifically honest feedback.
That's what you want.
Anyways, one of the hosts, Becky.
Hi. Okay, that was... Yeah, hi. Hello.
Hello. The other host, Chris.
Hello.
And other host, Bobby.
Yeah, the bussy basher Bobby. I love them bussies.
Huh? Yep, okay.
That totally has to do with our entire episode.
I mean, yeah, kidneys. You can fuck a kidney.
I mean, you could, but why would you?
Okay, that's nice.
And I'm Angie. Kind of regretting introducing Bobby now. Today, we are going to talk about HEK293, which is a human embryonic kidney cell. The 293 is the experimental number designation. This doesn't mean anything. Don't think 293, oh my God, that's how many days we have left to live after we cannibalize infants.
I will say it was funny because both me and Bobby both thought this was like an SCP experiment and not like what it actually ended up being.
Yeah. Also, babies are tasty. You had veal?
Yeah, they're in your favorite foods. Yeah, I mean, we're talking Pepsi, Nestle, Campbell Soup, Kraft.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's in all our foods.
Oh, yeah.
It's like MSGs.
Yeah.
Wait, no, are you serious?
Yeah.
This is what the conspiracists think.
Like,
You cannibalize it every day and you don't know it.
You eat babies every day.
I would assume it'd be chewy.
No.
It is.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten Kraft mac and cheese? A little chewy.
Now I'm thinking that Vine where the guy's like mom's stirring the pot and he's like, that's what good pussy sounds like.
I was about to say, I'm like just thinking, wop, 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 wop.
Well, luckily we're just kidding. I
Mostly.
hate to disappoint you who came here to get the lowdown and the skinny, because even though we don't always research thoroughly and have a lot of opinions, we do research occasionally.
Going back to those YouTube comments
exactly.
again.
Looking at you, YouTuber, who always says, you guys need to research more.
I actually did a lot of work in that missing 401
This
episode. And I feel really
exactly.
bad about it.
This is definitely not a chupacabra. Yes, it was, bitch.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, the people who commented on Missing 411 are crazy too, so it's okay.
Obviously, it's aliens.
Yeah.
I also research the crap out of everything because that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
Well, everybody. I think we are very much research based because we want to be those people.
But do we make educated guesses?
Of course.
And suppositions? Yes. But they're educated.
Yeah, and I'll tell you if I'm not sure, but this is what I believe.
Right.
That's what I'll say.
Right.
It's called an opinion. People have them a lot like assholes.
What does supposition mean?
Like you suppose something, like you think something.
It's like a suppository, but for your brain.
Yeah.
That was a really big word. It had like more than one syllable. So
Bobby hasn't blinked since you said it.
I'm also hungover. Okay.
Well, good news is
Where's your cocaine?
At the house.
it's a felony. Anyways, go ahead. Tell us about the baby cells.
So, it is true that HEK293 are fetal cells that were harvested from abortions back in the 70s. I mean, that is the truth of it. We're still not really certain of the actual where they came from, but we do know this is what it is.
Yeah, it was from an embryo. They think it was either an abortion or a miscarriage, but they're not.
Right,
They're just not
sure which, but they do know, like...
It was a non-viable baby.
Right.
And let's be honest.
Baby in a blender.
I was about to say it. Basically, in the 70s, who really was keeping up with anything?
Well, yeah, like
70s.
Mm-hmm.
We're all
Negative.
doing drugs and all that shit.
they've narrowed it down to it was one of those two, and they're pretty sure it was an abortion that was a willful abortion, but it could have very easily been a miscarriage too. They're just not.
That's right.
100%.
It could have been an in vitro death, a
Yep.
miscarriage. Just, it was a non-viable baby. They didn't take a baby and be like, fucking knock it in the head. It died naturally.
Right.
Like those cats you get or the fetal pigs in high school. That they're like, they died of natural causes and they all have a dent in the same spot on their head. And you're like, I don't think this is natural
pretty
causes
sure
at this
a
point.
pick in the head is not the same.
Pretty sure you hit it in the head with a hammer. Like,
Whack.
because they're all in the same spot
Yep.
too. Like, no, this cat did not die of natural causes, I can assure you.
Yeah,
No.
fucked to death.
No. I
Sorry,
wanted the
doesn't do
A,
much.
so I,
I was conveniently sick that day.
yeah. I did all of them but the frog. At that point,
See, I did-
That's fair.
I did them all.
I did the
Yeah.
frog. I think you had an option when I was in high school. You could do the cat or the frog, and I did the frog.
So we never had a cat. We had a fetal pig, a frog, some bird, too. We had to do a bird as well. I think it was just because they're so bony.
I feel like if you'd done the frog, it would have cured your fear.
No, absolutely
They
not.
smell awful. So
They
no.
do. I can like.
I tried to stay in there, and like when a leg flew through the air,
Oh,
I was
no.
done. Like that's it.
It's like one of those smells that like weed, like marijuana.
It's
like
the
once
only
you,
thing that smells like that.
Yeah, it's the only thing when you remember it, like you know what it smells like if you smelled it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to mess with the frog, like grab a tendon and just like.
That's
and
it.
Like,
Twitch.
doot, doot.
and that's why
You're
I
like,
can't do it because
Hey.
the thing of a frog I'm afraid of are the back legs. I can't. I don't know why I can't.
One
explain
time, somebody's leg it was pinned down and then it popped out and it went flying. It's like flapping.
it. Yeah. Like you can touch something and it'll jerk, like Chris said.
We used to do that with the. They used to let us. We were in AP Bio and they let us like attach a battery to it and. bzz, and it just starts twitching and you're like, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
feel like Frankenstein. Let's go.
I almost failed biology and didn't graduate because I just couldn't do it. And I was in anatomy and physiology at the same time, and she knew I was, dissecting fetal pigs and cats and all sorts of shit. She was like, "Really, you can't do a frog?" No, I cannot.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their
I'm
line.
leaving, and
Yeah.
she didn't let me back in her class. I almost
What a,
passed.
what a cunt.
yeah,
cunt.
what a real bitch.
What's her name?
I think her name was Miss Daly at ACH.
She's a good dick.
She's probably still there. Fuck
She-
you, Miss Daly.
She's probably dead.
But then she got married, and when she came back from her honeymoon, she was different. And I'm like,
Hey, she got laid.
exactly.
Jarred something loose there, Tiger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So back
Anyway,
to the...
back to kidney cells.
We were.
Yeah.
I was going to say talking about Frankenstein.
So the way this has gotten, portrayed as being in your food, there's a company named Cinemex in California. They were started in 1988. They're a biotech company. Yes, these actually exist, biotech companies.
Yeah.
And what they did was they got a bunch of HEK293 cells. When I say a bunch, like they ordered them from the lab in the Netherlands. What they do with these HEK293 cells is they test food additives and sweeteners, things that they add to your food. If it reacts well on the HEK cells, they know it's okay to add to food. If it doesn't react well, they know not to add it to food, and that's because of the things your kidneys do in your body.
Like the way it breaks
Cells.
down certain foods and stuff like that.
Right.
And
So
your kidneys are filters, basically. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just going to briefly describe what the kidney does because it's important for this conversation and the next one we're going to have. So what the kidneys do, like Chris said, they filter. So 20 to 25% of your heart's blood goes into your kidneys. It comes in through the renal artery, leaves through the renal vein. What it does is that it takes it and it basically filters it. Like, think of a sieve, but it gets smaller and smaller like cheesecloth. So red blood cells and bigger things are left. All the bad stuff, the toxins, urine and stuff gets filtered out. All the bad things, sodium, all the things bad for your body are filtered out. They go down the urethra.
And that's how you birth the baby poop.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nutshell version. They also reintroduce nutrients back into your body. They regulate your water output and input. So what happens is, say that
It's pea-colored
you don't
now.
have water. You're
Yeah.
not intaking a lot of water.
Dehydrated,
Yeah. What it does is it makes sure you don't basically destabilize the liquid around your organs and stuff by outputting too much water. So it decreases your saliva, decreases your pee, basically regulates your water. It also regulates blood pressure, which blood pressure is also tied to the water and sodium levels and toxins in your system. And it does that by producing, it's essentially a hormone named renin.
Okay.
It also keeps your stasis of fluid. It controls production of red blood cells. It also is the only thing in your body. It starts in the liver, but ends up in the kidneys to be able for your body to basically be able to accept vitamin D. So if your kidneys are bad, you're
Vitamin
bad.
D deficient.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. You know I'm holding it back. You know I'm holding it back. Stop, Bobby. Stop looking at me.
Vitamin D.
These nuts.
Oh my God.
Is that what you do when you orgasm?
It is.
What?
Wow.
What? The hee. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Sometimes she slaps me.
Jesus Christ.
We really...
Really
I
teach
wish
her
I
who's
were
boss.
kidding, but she gets violent. And it also regulates and maintains your electrolyte balance.
Electrolytes. Just like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder.
So basically, when they test the additives and stuff, and they do it in a petri dish.
Yeah.
What they're doing is introducing these additives. So if the kidney cells filter appropriately, are able to maintain a solid working environment, that's good. Now we can focus on how they are taste receptors. That's a whole other thing about how it tricks your brain. We're not getting into that. But if they react badly, okay, we can't do this because kidneys literally are like the support function for your entire body.
Yeah.
Bad kidneys, you're probably not going to survive.
Yeah, that's my kidneys are gonna hate me when I'm 50 because of all the drugs and booze.
Yeah. I actually went to the wrong card.
Can the kidneys regenerate, or is it only the liver that can do that?
I think it's just the
I think
liver.
it's just the liver.
Okay.
Yes.
I never took anatomy and shit, so I don't know.
You just took that physical science.
And biology, and I took chem, and then I took oceanology my senior year because I wanted the easy A.
So basically, at Cinemex, HEK is just a robotic tester.
Okay.
They don't have to experiment with people. They don't have to use animals. Since it is an immortal cell line, they don't have to worry about constantly having to buy new testing. And they know that it's literally the same test pool.
Oh, cool.
So what they're doing is actually benefiting us. They're trying to get low sodium, low salt. That's the same thing. Low sodium, low sugar out of food. So basically appeal to the current marketing trends.
Superfood, pretty much.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, and
But they also keep out GMOs. So that's
Oh.
another thing that they're trying to make sure doesn't go in your food.
So I didn't realize, for some reason, when I first actually got past the part where they were saying it was food additives that or baby cells that were being put in your food, I didn't realize the reason why they could still test it is because it was considered immortal.
Right. And we'll get more into like what immortal means. It doesn't mean exactly what you think. Like they can eternally, as far as we know, they're going to be able to keep reproducing and
Right.
replicating themselves.
Nice.
Because they went through in Cell World an extinction level event that basically the ones that didn't die out now will never die out. But back in the 70s, he did almost lose his entire set of cells.
That sucks.
Yeah. So when we're talking about fetal cells and you're thinking, you know, oh my God, they got it from a baby. At this point in time, there's no fetal tissue left in these cells based on the science that was done and everything. So now we're going to get into more of what HEK293 actually is. Anybody want to hazard a guess what currently we use these for? Like what? So it was an accident how he created it.
So was I.
Wow.
Okay.
You know, actually, we'll come back to this.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. So HEK293 cells were generated in 1973 in the Alex van der Ebs lab in Leiden, Netherlands. But it was Frank Graham who's the one who took these human embryonic kidney cells, titled it 293 because this was his 293rd experiment, and he introduced the adenovirus. Now, are y'all familiar with adenoviruses?
Mm-mm.
It's basically coronavirus, but it's the big umbrella of it that everything drops down to.
Oh.
So adenovirus are respiratory diseases and viruses.
So it could encompass basically everything.
Right, there's a whole bunch. There's 88 diseases that fall under adenovirus. So what they were trying to do was gene therapy. Even back in the 70s, they were trying to cure and fix genetic problems. Well, he introduced the adenovirus, but what he did was make sure that when it was introduced into the cells, it couldn't replicate itself. So what it became was a vehicle to add information, genetic information to cells.
Oh.
Do you know what that's used for now?
Hot Wheels.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
can't wait for the light to ding in your head.
No.
Okay. Both me and Bobby are just sitting here like, okay.
So, and to help, viruses are the really good delivery systems because they will. The way they operate is they basically invade your cells, insert their own genetic replicating material. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And they insert their own genetic replicating material into your cell, and they keep going. So they're really good delivery systems.
Yeah.
Right.
If you could take the bad side of the virus out and have them insert good things, then you have
Oh.
a really
See where we're
good
going
delivery
here?
Oh,
system.
I see.
Like say, hey, this is the virus. And the reason it can't be used for genetic therapy is because your body has an immunoresponse to the delivery.
Is this a vaccine?
It's a vaccine.
Yay!
It's a vaccine.
We
But they
did
didn't know
it.
this for a while because they still tried to use it for genetic therapy.
Okay.
So okay. We're getting excited. We're getting excited now.
Angie's out real hard today.
They're also working with viruses on cancer treatments.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because it really is the perfect delivery system. It's literally evolved to deliver its material.
Right.
So if we can give it cancer-killing material, and it just delivers it to your cells, because cancer cells are basically just mutated human cells.
Yeah.
Cool.
And this is why, like, there's a big push for allowing stem cell and genetic testing on fetal tissue, because these HEK293 cells, you can't use them because they've already had the adenovirus introduced.
Right. So you can't
They're-
reuse them anymore.
Right. They're
They do what they do and only that.
right. They're
Right.
contaminated, so to speak.
Right.
Purposefully.
Yeah. And they're considered like a medium threat level because they do contain the oncogenetic material. That means cancerous.
Oh, okay.
But so it's, it's a really good. I mean, you didn't want that baby anyway.
No,
Why can't we take it?
Fuck that kid.
I mean, okay, we're trying not to be controversial, but at the same time, it's like,
When are we not?
well, true. But at the same time, it's like there are benefits to using. I mean, people have experimented on dead bodies for years. Scientific studies have been done on people who have died to cancer. Look at what's this, Aaron Rodriguez or what? Not Roger, Aaron Hernandez or whatever. The guy from
The Patriots.
for the Patriots who died, and they looked at his brain and they were like, "Oh, we can like pinpoint these concussions."
Right.
CTE is real.
Yeah.
Right. So why couldn't a woman who is going to get abortion be like, I would like to do this for science?
Yeah.
I mean, we
But,
donate.
I mean,
we donate our organs when we die.
I gladly. Well, there is one lady who is in an immortal cell line we'll get to.
Yeah,
But who didn't know she was doing this. But
one of my favorite
you're dead.
books.
What do you care?
One of my favorite stories, or not favorite stories, but like very interesting stories.
Well, the reason he
Henrietta.
introduced, the reason he introduced adenovirus, not for just for the reason Chris said, but because we needed, and we're not going to go too far into biology, but your kidney cells have a lot of epithelial cells. Basically, your whole body does.
Right.
So he needed to make a more efficient, to be able to process nucleolinear data better. We need to take out epithelial cells. That's why these are not the same type of embryonic kidney cells that are in vitro. They're completely different. So when you think, oh, this is bad, they're testing on babies.
They're not really testing on babies.
No, it was a fetus.
Well, I was about to say the genetic material is just the genetic material is what makes it even considered an embryonic, whatever it is. I'm not a scientist.
Well,
No,
they're
yeah.
at this point, it's funny because they're not even 100% sure all the cells were embryonic kidney cells.
Right.
They think they may have been adrenal gland cells because at that
Yeah.
stage, everything's kind of transferable. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, the membranes are pretty permeable, and the cells haven't really taken, this is a fingernail cell, this is a hair cell.
Right.
And that's why he had to add the adenovirus, because it was contaminated with
Yep.
fetal tissue and adrenal. So and it's all produced by the same like pituitary.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, but now we could really pinpoint and narrow it down.
Yeah.
So basically, we talked about how this is an immortal cell line.
Yeah.
And we briefly touched on, it survived its extinction level event, which is, and I'll never remember the name of this protein, but tellurase or something like this. Basically, it produces it to stop itself from dying, and it stopped producing. So Graham was like, I don't know where they're dying. And his wife was like, oh, it's this lack of protein, but if they survive, they're going to be around. He also, at the time, so he had done the research, but we didn't really realize until the 80s how great of a research it was. And he gladly shared his research and stuff, but he kept them in a petri dish. Now, the thing about petri dishes are cells stick to the bottom of it. They're sticky.
Yeah.
So another thing they had to do was figure out, in order to get them to replicate and multiply, how to store them. So they stored them in a suspension, which required space. Space.
The final frontier.
So you wouldn't think of like you need a lot of space for cells, but you do, because you need room for them to grow.
Right. If they're replicating, you can't. They only
And
replicate.
we
It's like a
can't control
turtle.
now how quickly they replicate. They control their own destiny, so
Right.
to speak.
Yeah, as soon as it's limited by the space you give them.
That's right.
It's like that movie Evolution.
That's
Yeah.
how koi fish grow.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I was thinking,
goldfish, right?
well, I was thinking turtles too.
Yeah.
Like how much space you give a turtle is how big it'll
Yeah.
grow.
Now, there's a couple of immortal cell lines. Becky, you want to talk about the other one? Henrietta?
Oh yeah, so it was the so there's a book that came out in 2017 about, it's called The Secret Life of Henrietta Lacks, and it was talking about this woman in the 1950s by the name of Henrietta Lacks. She had realized she had cervical cancer, and she had a knot on it. So she went to, I believe it was Johns Hopkins University, and they had removed part of that cervical tissue during that time. She ends up dying. But at the time when they removed that cervical tissue, there had been very little information regarding cervical cancer and cancers in general in that sort of stage. So the doctors of Johns Hopkins began to experiment on those cells in order to figure out exactly how to treat it.
Yeah.
The thing is, Henrietta had 5 kids and a husband who had no idea this was going on. So it wasn't until, I believe, the 70s or 80s, maybe even a little after that they didn't even, a little later than that they realized that her tissues had been being used for science, and that a lot of the...
since like the 50s or 60s?
It was the 50s. She died in the 50s. So the fact, all of these like strides we've had in treating cancer and looking and examining and diagnosing cancer was based on a lot of her cells, but nobody had any idea about it, and they were angry about it. I mean,
well, give her credit even in her death.
Exactly.
They called him Gila. It's the immortal line is called Gila.
Yeah,
and it's then it's like, well, where did this name come from? And then you go back and this is
her first 2 initials of each name.
Yeah. First, a lot of people thought it was based on Hel, the goddess of death.
Yeah.
In Norse mythology, but then it's like, turns out it was just a woman from the 50s who was trying to get treated for cancer, and she ended up dying. So, I mean, there's a lot of examination to be done with these immortal cells, because, I mean, I think for years they use these cells to really push forward any sort of treatment of cancer. So, it's very different than the embryonic cells, but it goes to show you what our body creates, how long these things can be used for treatment, and it's just facilitating any sort of cures that are necessary for these people.
It's not like stem cells that come from actually just eating babies.
That's not how that works at all.
I know, Chris. I was making a joke.
This is also an episode of like, what is information and not information, which is why I was really I didn't even realize that, I think it's Ohio that's trying to pass a law that says you cannot use embryonic stem cells for testing and manufacturing.
Yeah, and this is all based on the current research and vaccinations. So what Graham had wanted to do was, he wanted to know why some adenoviruses caused cancer and some didn't. And he was interested in it because of the HeLa cells. Like, why did it become this? So basically, what happens now is that we continue to use these. COVID-19 vaccination, this might surprise you, uses HEK293 in either research and development or production and management.
Well, biotech is the company that created the, I think Pfizer? Is it Pfizer? Yeah, I think it's Pfizer. And they are big proponents of using the embryonic.
Oh, yeah. All 3 of them did.
Yeah.
2 of them used it in research and development. 1 used it in production and manufacturing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this isn't the first vaccines. At this point, almost all your vaccines are tested and use this. So the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines used it during research and development, and they used it from an abortion that took place in the Netherlands in 1973, so they can track it all the way back to the HEK origin line. It's like if you work for the airlines or something that requires traceability, you have to know where things originate from.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know any more about that because... Yeah, that's
where it ends.
That's it.
It's like chain of evidence in the police.
Yeah.
Every step of the way, you have to have it marked, researched, noted, so that you know exactly what happened.
Right.
And because these cells are all, they're not similar. They are the exact same cells. They're the perfect test group. You can control it. You know exactly what's going to happen every single time.
Right.
So it's not like these have been polluted with air or oil or whatever. This is what happens when you introduce X into these cells. Very bad things. Let's not use X anymore. Let's try Y. Let's try Z. Let's try X, Y, Z. So that's why they use them, is because they're a really, really strong control group, and they're not... Again, embryonic cells are... We have the ability now to kind of change them. Like, if we want an embryonic foot cell to become an embryonic finger,
That's right.
We can do that.
We can do that.
They're not pre-programmed.
And then we trace it. We call it HEK293
Yep.
T, or which there are T cells, or HEK293. Fingerfoot cell.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's why they use these cells, is because you can test on them. You can figure out how your body's going to react, and every single time you get whatever reaction it's going to be, good or bad. But you can learn and you can move forward.
Well, it's a good way to simulate how our bodies react without actually using people.
Yeah.
and why are these so good to use? Because remember what we learned about the kidneys and how it filters, assists, and helps. It's also why I think some people think vitamin D is exceptionally good. But I also think about what COVID does to your body. What is it? It shuts down your kidneys. It liquefies your lungs. So I think that this is why they definitely use these. They also wanted to make sure they could use it as a vehicle to put it in. Since it is an adenovirus, could this adenovirus interact and affect it?
Yeah.
So that's what Pfizer and Moderna used, the same thing. Johnson & Johnson, however, used it in the production and manufacturing stage. So what they did was they infected one of these cells that, like Chris had said, they changed it so it would be more useful for them to a PERC6. Now, apologies, I didn't really look up what that cell actually is, but they changed the cells, and then they put the adenovirus in it, and then they introduced their vaccine, and they traced theirs back to a 1985 abortion in the Netherlands, which was interesting to me because we've been told that these were all from the 72.
Yeah.
So, and this is why Johnson & Johnson had such, that's why, okay. So we talk about being ignorant of stuff, and I was like, why are people so religiously opposed to this, specifically Catholics? Because when Johnson & Johnson research came out, this came from a 1985 abortion. Well, we've been told for years that they didn't do it after 73.
Right.
So now you have an 85. So, but what happened was, on December 21st, 2020, the Congregation for the Doctrine of Divine Faith, and I hope I said that right, the Pope came out and told them it's okay.
Oh.
It's just a vaccine. It's not a viable human. Which also kind of is interesting because it's the first time the Catholic Church has admitted a fetus is not a baby, inadvertently.
Right.
But well, I mean, he didn't say that. He just said these cells are not a viable human. They're not human in any way.
Not
It's
only that,
okay to take this vaccine.
by the time you get the vaccine, the HEK293 cells have all been filtered out.
Right.
They're all gone
That's
anyway,
right.
so you're not even getting them.
That's right.
Right.
So when you get this vaccine, you are literally just getting the adenovirus vehicle
Well, and the thing is, it's
with
like
the genetic
Yeah,
information.
you're getting the results of those cells
Exactly.
creating the solution to
Right.
corona.
right.
That's it.
They literally are the vehicle that helps create the vaccine. It is not it is not a part of the vaccine that's being injected inside of you.
That's right. They introduce it because what happens is when an antigen, which is what a virus is, an antigen comes into your body, the virus comes in, it releases antigens. Your body then creates antibodies that basically come along, grab this, and pull it away, and filters it out through, guess what? Your kidneys.
Right.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Your liver and kidneys put in a lot of work. Makes me feel like I shouldn't drink Diet Coke and maybe help the guy out a little bit.
Oh no, my kidneys are gonna be fucking calcified.
So what the vaccines do, and this is for all vaccines, they come in with just a little bit of this antigen, and your body's like, holy fuck. And it's like,
Attack
wait,
it.
here's how you fix it. I need you to build XYZ, and then you can take it out. And so, think about your laziest coworker. Like, you can teach them, and they're probably not going to learn it. So, hey, you know what? Let's give a second part of this vaccine that comes in and is like, I need you to actually do your job.
Right.
Make the Y part of XYZ. And then, just like work, people get lax, stop following written instructions, and it's like, you know what? Let's send HR out.
I was about to say that's when corporate comes back down and everybody
That's right.
gets their life in
HR
line.
goes on the floor with corporate management, and the body's like, holy fuck, we need to make some more antibodies. Because here comes the antigens again.
Yep. And if you don't know who your laziest coworker is, you're the laziest
Yeah.
coworker.
Yeah. I can't wait to
how it
tell
fucking works.
Nisha that I just compared COVID vaccines to HR.
They're
Well,
both controversial.
It makes a lot of sense though. Like that's why you have to have a second iteration of the vaccine is because your body's like, okay, this is like a one and done, cool.
Yeah.
But then it's always when the second time comes around, you're like, oh, I really do need to get my act together.
It's interesting to me that what started as trying to be genetic therapy, like gene therapy, turned into vaccinations because it brought an immune response and it was all just accidental.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's how a lot of our greatest scientific discoveries and inventions have just been, fuck, I didn't mean to do that, but it's working. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, this is kind of cool. I think I'm going to keep this.
Yeah. Keep this
But
around.
Graham said he had no idea. Like I said, he offered up all of his research to the scientific community. And then in like the late 80s, they were like, dude, you're a freaking genius.
It's like,
Oh.
yeah, I know, thanks.
Yeah, so of course I am.
Well, and that's also about the time that when this starts coming out, that the whole, like, almost like the satanic panic starts happening, where they're like, Pepsi is adding embryonic cells to the drinks.
Babies are tasty.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just
We're
give
all
a nibble.
cannibals.
And just
Cannibals.
try it.
This is why you're having such a hard time with your body. You're being cannibalized.
Sure.
Now, there is a part of me that wonders, we have all these cells and we've messed with them. What if they became sentient? Which I know couldn't happen. They don't have any. But what if?
You know, like how actual sci-fi happens, you mean?
And in these immortalized cell lines, are they looking for a way to find immortality?
Probably. I mean, here's the thing. Like, you have something that basically lives forever. And what is a lot of people's obsession is to live forever. Like, they're basically trying to be immortal.
Bezos just dumped a bunch of money into that one company.
Yep.
Trying to figure out that shit. That's why I thought we were talking about this, the whole immortal thing, is the whole Bezos bit, but it's vaccines, so that's even more cultural.
No, seriously, you could talk about any part of HEK293 you want. Because there's
Wait, I
so
didn't
much
even-
to talk about.
I didn't realize Bezos was trying to dump a whole bunch of money into that.
Yeah, he just did that. He's like, yeah, I'm getting kind of old. I need to live forever and keep
Yeah.
using my workers.
He's about to Walt Disney the shit out of it, cryogenically freeze his head, which it kind of is interesting because, like, you know, he wants to go to space. He wants to find the immortal line.
Yeah.
He just wants to be a sentient alien for the rest of his life.
Yeah, a lot of the sciences were not more than 15, 20 years away from not expanding life infinitely, but dramatically extending it.
Well,
yeah, by reducing aging. So
Yeah.
we're not talking like 300 years old and you look and feel 300 years old.
Yeah, you look like you feel like you're 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think you think about it, like, I mean, let's look back, 400 years ago, people didn't live past their 50s. And the age median, people could live past them, but the median age was between 40s and 50s?
So the problem, and this is a thing people talk about a lot, this is one of those things I jump on instantly. Sorry. When they say the average life expectancy back, 100, 150 years ago was 48, 49, it wasn't because people died in their 50s. It was because there was so much child death
Yes.
that it brought the average down.
Right.
Basically, if you made it past infancy, you were good till you were 67.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, that's what I was going to get at, is like when we talk about the median age, it's because of the fact of infant death rate. But that has significantly gone down in the last 40, 50 years anyways.
And our average lifespan has gone up accordingly.
Yeah.
So it's not like we have changed. We just don't die young anymore.
Right.
And when you think about, no, you couldn't have lived that old, but families lived together. And when you were older, your kids and grandkids
Took care of you.
took care of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A burden on society.
But that's one of those weird things that everybody's like, everybody died when they were 30 back in the day. I'm like, no, if you made it past 3, you were fine till you were 80.
But you think about it, like, infant death rates were high back then because you didn't know how to care for it. A lot of people didn't know how to care for it. People were hungry, and then women died much more.
Childbirth.
More just because of childbirth.
Well, that and, if you got diarrhea, you were liable to die.
Exactly.
If you had a toothache, you were probably going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only been the perpetuation
If you
of
got
science.
strep, you were dead.
Yeah.
Right.
They couldn't treat it.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is, like, with the perpetual findings in science, those things have stopped. Like, look at, we always can talk about vaccines and polio, but vaccines and smallpox, vaccines and polio, vaccines and tuberculosis, those things don't exist as prevalent to these days because science has created a way for us to fight it.
So I was actually thinking about smallpox the other day and how it relates to the current, what we're dealing with now, and anti-vaxxing and people freaking out. And I really believe that if COVID was more aggressive and more deadly, people would just shut the fuck up and take their vaccine.
It's
because
true.
there was no one being like, I'm probably not going to take the smallpox vaccine. Everybody's like standing in line praying they could get their hands on it because it was such an awful, awful affliction. But people survive COVID, so they don't take it as seriously. And it's like,
Yeah, they're going to go up and, protest the White House because Biden said companies over 100 people have to be vaccinated.
but
He's trying to save your fucking life.
I really think that it's because COVID doesn't seem so
Bad.
Deadly.
horrible. It doesn't scar you like smallpox
Your eyes aren't
does.
bleeding.
Yeah, if it was anywhere near what smallpox is, and people survive smallpox, like that's the thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
a death sentence.
Some of them survive yellow fever.
Yeah, scarlet fever you'd survive.
Yeah.
It's just you look at it and you're like, I really was thinking about that. If it was more heinous,
It would be.
people would just shut the fuck up.
Well, the thing is, it is heinous, but you don't see it.
That's
Because
the
you're not
thing.
allowed to visit them. But
Yeah, well, yes, I have a lot of family that's in nursing, and it is horrifying.
to be fair, I didn't realize the extent of it until a friend of ours died last Monday. And his son had put, his kidneys have failed. His lungs are liquefied. Blood clots in his leg. His brain is bleeding. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, everything.
You don't hear about that with COVID.
No.
All you hear is they can't breathe. They have pneumonia.
Well, that's usually
Oh,
what
no,
kills
it's-
them quickly. If
Yeah.
you can't breathe, you just die fast.
Right.
If they're able to stick you in the hospital and drag it out, a lot of other shit goes awry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because his son was saying, like, even if he survives this, he's losing both legs.
Yeah.
His kidneys have failed. He's going to be on dialysis the rest of his life. And I was telling Becky, I was like, I had no idea COVID did that. Because you don't hear about that.
Yeah, because most people just die right away.
Well, and the problem is, like, I think a lot of it also has to do with the fact that I am a big proponent of the internet. I'm a big proponent of being educated, but it's so easy on that flip side to spread disinformation. Yep. Somebody can go on and be like, I'm a doctor in infectious love, and I find that you can solve coronas by the power of friendship. Like,
I'm the doctor of love.
exactly.
Hey, all I'm saying is horse paste is kind of tasty.
Man, that dewormer is really going to make a difference.
So, I'm not going to jump on this a lot. I will tell you that scientifically, ivermectin does have positive results with
Right.
COVID.
It's considered a miracle drug. They still call it a miracle
Yeah.
drug.
Regardless of what you want to get on the memes or not, and you want to say they're taking horse tranquilizer or what the fuck ever, it does have positive results. It's still super early, and the
Yeah.
memes are funny, and I fucking get it.
But don't go buy the horse variant. There is a people variant.
Yes, there's
Go get your people prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah, doctors can prescribe you ivermectin, and it supposedly does help a ton.
And it helps, like, it cures scabies. Like, it's used for a multitude of things.
Scabies.
It's a
It's a
skin
skin
disease.
It's a skin disease.
Oh, is
but
it-
on
it's
the
like
but
rabies.
here's the thing
No.
about that kills me. You are so quick to jump on the ivermectin thing because of that, but you will not get vaccinated. It's
Right.
like
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're still
Yeah.
taking there's no
Because
difference.
people don't know what a vaccine is, and that's what I really hope, like, our listeners get from this.
Well, they're in this
Is
echo
to
chamber.
understand what
Yes.
a vaccine is and how it works. That's why we went into great detail about what your kidney
The
functions
transport
are.
system, the fact that you're not actually, when they inject you with the vaccine, you're not getting a live active coronavirus.
no.
Yeah.
You're not. It literally cannot reproduce in your system. What it does is it teaches your body how to produce proteins that will kill it when it does show
Right,
up. That's
because
really
it
what
does
it does.
come in and write RNA. It
Yeah.
says here, it basically gives your body blueprints.
Yeah, here's the
but
solution.
it can't replicate and it can't take over.
Right.
It just says, hey, this is what you do to help yourself.
Well, and it also comes down to the fact that people are like, how can you get vaccinated? And they're looking at having like another shot and another shot. And it's like, bitches,
That's what we do for the flu.
we've been doing that for the flu
So-
for how
Well,
many
and
years?
they're saying that, we're the human test subjects. No, we're not. HEK293, we're the...
Not only that,
Yeah.
but viruses mutate.
Yeah.
This is
Exactly.
something we've known for a very long time. They'll keep coming into contact with different people who have different
DNA.
Well,
well,
and-
that and different their body systems are very
Right.
different.
Right.
And then they spread it to someone else after it's been inside them, and then so on and so forth. The Delta variant, when it first popped up, and I think it was in India.
It was.
even before it hit UK. When I first heard about that, I'm like, yeah,
That's how it works.
this is what this
Yeah.
is.
Well, my cousin.
Because it was... Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was
Go
about
ahead.
to say, well, my cousin who works for the CDC says viruses mutate. This is why you have to
Yes.
you have to have an overwhelmingly vaccinated population to
For
sort of
herd
slow it
immunity.
down for herd
Yeah.
immunity.
And I'm not saying, like, again, if you're sick or you have some sort of,
Reasoning for not getting it.
if you can't,
Yeah.
like if it will make you ill or you for whatever reason you just can't, I understand. Wear a mask if you can.
do what you can.
Probably
Yeah.
go get the vaccine.
Well, like, herd immunity for smallpox was, 93% vaccinated?
Yes.
Herd immunity for polio was 80%. We think that herd immunity for COVID is 80, but we don't know.
We don't
Get
know until it
vaccinated.
happens.
Again, we're 2 years in.
Yeah.
Well,
This,
and
this is new.
well, and that Sarah was saying the variant is 4 times more contagious. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
and did you know that since coronavirus isn't adenovirus, you can be fine test negative, but your skin sheds adenovirus.
Quickly.
Yeah.
And like you could touch it and be positive for adenovirus. You don't spread it that way, but you get a lot of false positives because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you spread it through sex.
So that's how they know you were exposed to somebody with it.
Right.
That, and a lot of the problem we run into is a lot of the testing for whether or not you had the antibodies and whether or not you had it was giving people a lot of false negatives.
Right.
And it was still so early, and it sucks to watch science happen and people get over it really quickly.
Right. Science changes
But
because
this is what it is, man.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
I was trying to explain to people that I know who are very they're not anti-vax, but they don't want to get vaccinated because they're scared. They're for whatever reason. And the thing I keep trying to harp on is this virus is, yes, we had coronavirus SARS. We've had that before, but this virus is so different. Our bodies don't have any immunities to it.
Right.
So we have. It's basically a crapshoot of what we can do to prevent it. And luckily, we are a more scientifically based community. Like, yeah, you hope so. But at the same time, we're not just going to get over it. Yeah, some people are just going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're going to get a little sick and then they'll be fine. But at the same time, that person, you may not be that person. You may be that person who ends up in the hospital.
Whose liver shut down and
Yeah.
Yeah.
bleeding in the
Right.
brain. I mean, there's no way.
And we'll get back to something you said in a minute, but I wanted to address why India is where the variation happened. India had the least amount of vaccinations. They were just flooded with COVID-19 cases. So when you think about, like, why did it break off and do the Delta variant? Because so many people had it.
Yeah.
They
Well,
weren't vaccinated.
They were also, I mean, they were so overwhelmed with it. They were just lining hospital gurneys up on the streets.
Yep.
There was
Yeah.
nowhere to put them. Like, you
They
couldn't
had to
get your
dig mass graves.
yeah,
like,
you couldn't get your loved ones into the hospital. They would just take and stick them outside and be like, "Yeah, he's gonna die."
Sorry.
The end.
Yeah.
And to
Oops.
put it in perspective, their airlines failed.
Yeah, it's not even like triage medicine at that point. They're so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's not medicine anymore. It's just people are gonna die.
It's not even
Accept it.
hospice.
Yeah.
It's just, where do we take them to die?
Can we get them away from healthy people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
mean,
it.
and that sort of thought process, these are like the things you saw in the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Put
So-
that in perspective.
We say that, but I mean, we have the National Guard here in Georgia
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like
locally
Yeah.
helping out hospitals because they're all at 120, 130% capacity.
Yeah. With
What?
nothing but COVID
well,
patients.
and I have a lot of people who are like, we're the numbers are declining. The reason sometimes, and this is the thing that people forget, the numbers may be declining, but it's also because it's hard to get a test right now
Yeah.
because
Also,
so many people are getting
because people
tested.
are dying.
Yeah.
True.
Your number of positive cases are going to go down when they die.
Yeah.
We had 70, 60 died. We only had 10 positive cases.
So here's
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to be that person, but that's perspective.
there was a gentleman locally in the town next to us where I work. Had a heart attack, and I'm going to get into this a lot because this really hits at home it really nailed it home for me, like, heavily. He had a heart attack. He was an older gentleman. He was in his 60s. His wife and his son were home. They saw it. They called an ambulance. Ambulance showed up, started doing emergency resuscitation, got him stable-ish, started calling around to hospitals that had a cardiac unit. They spent 45 minutes on the phone trying to find somewhere to take him because the hospitals were all full.
Yep.
He didn't have COVID. He wasn't in a car wreck. He had a heart attack. Like a common...
Something pre-COVID that would
Yeah.
happen that you could go to the hospital
Yes. The hospital that finally accepted him was the closest one to them, but they did not have a cardiac unit, and he died on the way because they couldn't stabilize his heart fast enough.
And he probably would have survived.
They think he probably would have. And it's just like...
Yeah.
when you go get that vaccine, it's not necessarily for you or your family. It's for the person down the road whose 17-year-old
That's
son
right.
got in a car wreck,
So you're
and
not
there's
clogging
nowhere
up the
to take
fucking
him.
hospitals
Yeah.
with your dumb ass.
for. Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
And it's always look, vaccinated people are going to die too, blah, blah, blah.
That's true.
It's true. But when you
but it's a
look,
way
but
less
it's called
percentage.
a percentage. Like you're going to have 0.8 people who are vaccinated who are going to die of this
Even if they do.
if they go to the hospital.
Okay. I
What
did
is-
my part. I tried.
And I got into this with a gentleman that I was working near a couple days ago, and he said he was trying to tell me that the vaccines were just a way for these huge, big pharma to make money. I'm like, they're giving them away for free.
I said that too. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're getting
Show
it
me
for
where
free.
the money's at. I promise they make more money if you go to the hospital and sit in there for a week.
That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
that's
They
absolutely the
profit
truth.
way more off of your ass sitting in the hospital than they do with you not getting
Mm-hmm.
sick.
Yeah.
don't get sick.
Or like the people who are like, well, they were vaccinated and still got sick. And it's like, but they're at home and they're okay.
Yeah, you know,
Your
he's got
Uncle
the sniffles.
John is dying in the hospital, horrifically dying.
Yep.
Yeah, Xavier died in less than a week. He went to the hospital and he was dead in less than a week.
I think he started having symptoms 3 weeks ago, and then he ended up in the hospital, right? Like
August 29th, and he died
yeah.
September 6th.
Yeah.
For a week.
A week.
There's a kid locally here that's in some of the groups we're in that was in the hospital a week ago with coronavirus and is currently not. He got out, and now he's just railing on vaccines like he's still anti-vax, and I'm like,
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Someone should strangle the shit out of
Dude
you.
who
bro.
plays Magic.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know who it is. You tell me after we get off.
Oh.
And then he's like, if you don't say hi to me, I'm blocking you. I'm like, you can delete me because
Yeah,
you're dumb
I don't
as
give
shit.
two shits, bro.
Listen, oh gosh, it gives me such. I get so irritated about it.
I think I know what we're talking about now. I think we'll find out in a second.
Well, and then, okay, back to something you said about how it's new. Well, we know adenoviruses aren't new.
Right.
And there are 88 things that fall under adenoviruses that have their own branches out. So going back to what you said, we know adenovirus has 88 diseases that fall under it, and then they branch down and branch down. Coronavirus is new. I mean, coronavirus isn't new. COVID-19
is different.
Is different. So, okay, and this is where we're getting into suppositions and conspiracy theories. When I was researching how these, because to understand vaccines, you have to understand viruses.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it, and I was just like, this seems awfully engineered to very specifically, because here's the thing about adenoviruses. They attack the young kids and people with immunocompromised. COVID-19 kills healthy people. It seems to specifically target healthy people.
So I personally believe it, and again, this is just me. I believe it was engineered.
I kind of do too.
Here's what the part that doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if it was engineered
Get your
or not
vaccine
because
and
it
eradicate
is real.
it.
Yeah.
Whether or not we created it or it jumped from, was it bat to pangolin? Was that how they thought it traveled?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whatever. Those, typically the way viruses jump through interspecies takes a long time. They don't jump from one to another to another to
This
another.
quickly.
Yeah, it's not bat to pangolin
Right.
to people. That's not really a thing.
Right, because we know coronavirus lives in animal reservoirs. That's why we'll never get rid of it.
Yeah, the cold is a coronavirus.
Yeah, there's some
H1N1
things
was a coronavirus.
we'll never get rid of because it's called animal reservoirs.
Well, I was about to say that's why you'll never really get rid of the plague, is it
That's
always
right.
will exist.
It has an animal reservoir. Even if we eradicated that animal, it's still in some dormant cell underground. You activate it. Psh. That's why I'm like, stay the fuck out of the North Pole and Antarctica. Let that shit
True
live.
that shit. I mean, seriously, stop like letting the polar ice caps melt because you don't know what shit lives under there.
We're too late for that.
Yeah, we're
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Like, don't dig farther if you can.
So here's the rule, and this is another thing that really is awesome to me. If we cut all carbon emissions today, 100% went to zero,
It's too late.
we would still have rising temperatures and ice pole melting for the next 30 years.
I know,
because
that's
that's
what's-
how long it takes to recover.
That's how
Yeah.
scary it is.
30
right?
years from now, if we stop today,
And one of the leading climate, and I apologize, I don't remember his name, but we passed the point of return. We're in no return land.
Yeah.
It's done.
and the way I look at it is, I don't care if you believe that humans caused it or it is naturally cyclical. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because that part doesn't matter to me anymore.
We've gone
because
beyond
this
it
is
because
where
it
we're
is.
at.
Exactly.
Although
Nope,
we
if
did
there's
have
no preventing it.
we had better air quality when the first part of the pandemic happened.
Yeah, we did.
We had the best air quality
Well, that's
we've had.
because people were out of cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the
But
thing.
that's local ground level air quality.
Yeah.
That is not
It's
up
for
in
the-
Oh, I
space
know.
greenhouse
I'm just
the
saying,
earth
like,
to
just
recover.
imagine though, like, if you like, just the fact of how much you would have to like cut everything down to get back to anything normal. That's the
Well,
crazy
and it's
part.
like, think about somebody who smokes. Their lungs will recover.
12
but
years.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yep.
And you're
This-
talking about the whole Earth.
30 years if we cut emissions to zero today.
Yeah.
30 years from this point,
I
we would
just
be
don't want a kaiju to come out of there.
And that's not.
It's
that's,
probably happening soon.
And 30 years from now, it's not that it would return to where it was 30 years ago. That's when it would peak and it would
Yeah.
stop getting warmer and things would stop melting and then it would have a chance to reset.
Yeah.
It's not that after 30 years it's better. That's as bad as it'll get.
Yeah.
And then it might recover a little bit.
Might. There's
Yeah.
no guarantees.
No, and it is what it is. Like there's nothing I can do about it anymore because we're past
Yeah.
that point.
What happens is we probably live in water world.
Yeah.
With small pockets of land.
And I mean, I look at
And we
it
have
like
gills.
Yeah.
the same way with Corona. Whether or not it was engineered in a lab, which I personally believe it was, doesn't matter at all.
Not anymore.
Because
You're
it's
right.
here,
It's
and
real.
we have to
Yeah.
deal with it.
It's a sentient. It's here.
And here's the thing: we'll look back on it if we get it under control and get it taken down. In 30 or 40 years, we'll look back at it and try and figure out where we're at with it. What happened? How do we prevent it? That's not where we're at right now.
So, and I don't even think we're past. I don't think we'll ever get past it. I think it is no longer a pandemic. I think it's endemic. I think we're gonna have corona.
Well, I think it's going to be long term, but I think
Yes.
that it'll be like most other infectious diseases or anything like the virus, like a flu virus.
Yeah,
like
it's
you
gonna be like
have
the flu.
immunity to it. Hey, you got it. Hey, you might get it. You need a vaccine because you'll have to go to school. It's something we're going to have to treat, but you're not going to die of it.
What happened? Johnny's grandma got corona and died 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That'll be the story, just like the flu or pneumonia or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think I just don't believe. I think it mutates too fast for us to ever.
Well,
get
that's
past
what
it.
scares me is if it is manufactured, if it's mutating faster than our vaccines can.
Well, so does the flu.
And
like,
the thing,
whatever.
if you think that COVID isn't new, it was literally called novel.
Yeah, novel corona.
It was a
Yeah.
novel.
Well, they called it a novel virus because novel viruses are, by definition, ones that jump from one species to another. They know coronavirus exists within bats, so for it to get to humans, it has to be some form of a novel virus.
Right.
That doesn't mean it wasn't engineered in a lab. That
Yeah,
doesn't mean the Wuhan,
that's right.
the Wuhan lab specifically did not engineer it.
Because here's the thing, bats, great carriers. That's why they're even though they're adorable and stuff, I'm very hesitant to pet a bat because you don't know what he has.
Well, we also they're really close to humans because we used to live in caves with them.
Yep.
So evolutionarily, we have bed bugs now. Well, they started off as bat mites, which people call are bat bugs, what people called them. They look really similar and they're really close, but they think that, a million years ago when we were hauled off in a cave, the bat bugs learned how to feed on humans, so they became bed bugs.
Yeah.
Because we were so close in living quarters. So it's just one of those things that they're near us.
Science.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool.
It's
but
science.
Science, bitch.
But it's just the misinformation that's real sad.
well, there's so much of it. So
University of Facebook.
Misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
The lack of telling people. Like, why don't people know this?
Because they don't want to.
They don't
because
want to.
everybody lives in their own little echo chamber, and unless you actively go out and seek, like, okay, if it was made in a lab, what does that mean to me? Nothing.
Nothing.
It means it's here.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next step? I hope they don't release another one, and I don't even believe. I really believe it was manufactured by people. I don't believe it was purposely released.
Yeah, it's an accident. Like the monkey thing in
Outbreak.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like, you have no idea what they were doing. Everybody wants to initially think that it was all for, like, bioterrorism stuff. It could be that they were testing what happens when you have a manufactured virus if you go into biological warfare.
So
Yeah.
And how do you prevent it?
oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say the way corona basically works is it when it infects your lungs, it makes your it's really simple. The oxygen receptors in your lungs can no longer get enough oxygen to oxygenate your blood.
Yeah.
It freezes, basically paralyzes them.
Yes. So that being said, they may have been testing if this is a virus that does occur, or if, and I firmly believe if somebody's trying to build something, someone else somewhere else is trying to build the same
I'm about
thing.
to say the same thing. Like, you can't say that, Chinese
Or
is out for bioterrorism
maybe
and
they
don't
were
think.
trying to understand how adenoviruses work to
and they
cure
may,
them.
well, that's
Like,
what
we
I'm saying.
don't know.
They may
Yeah.
have been trying to figure out if someone does release something like this, how do we
That's what I'm saying.
come back from it?
Yeah. I mean,
And then
it
something
just,
stupid happened.
we're human.
Somebody coughed, broke a vial, a monkey ran out of the lab. Murder! Murder!
It could be.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to
Yeah.
tell.
I had a friend in college, and she said something once because we were all like, let's join PETA and free the lab animals. And she said, you don't know what they've done to those lab animals.
Yeah, you don't know what they're
You
carrying.
don't know what you're releasing.
Yeah, you watched 28
And
days later.
I'd never thought about
True.
that before. Like, literally, it was just like freaking mind blowing.
Planet of the Apes.
She was like, even in cosmetic factories, what has it done to them? You
Yeah.
don't know. You don't know what you're releasing. So that's why you have to go through the proper channels.
Absolutely.
Apes together strong.
But again, if you want to believe it was natural and a naturally occurring novel virus, Godspeed, because it doesn't matter. Like I said, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it was made in a lab or not.
That's right.
What matters is that it is terrestrial, it is here, and it is killing people because people will not get vaccinated.
Have you heard the conspiracy theory that all viruses are engineered, like even by either alien civilizations and they're introduced to us as a population control, or like by ancient civilizations because viruses inherently aren't natural?
So I do believe, population control happens in nature.
Yeah.
If a deer population gets too high, they typically get chronic wasting disease.
God, those are
and
all...
they'll all die. They'll drop the population. Nature has a really good way of balancing. I don't know if it was luck or on purpose or whatever. There's a lot of people. And if there's a form of population control for people, because believe me, China...
It would be viruses.
China tried it through basically killing people for having too many kids.
Yeah.
And throwing the baby girls away. They're still real populated.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it under force and fear and murder. What else is there?
I do tell people, I'm like, because they're a big,
It's probably nature's response.
Yeah.
Her
big
own-
conspiracy theory is that the virus makes you infertile, and I'm like, stick me 3 more times. Go ahead.
I'm already snipped, so I don't care.
I don't want to be infertile, but if it's probably better than dying. So...
Yeah.
Well, I saw that on that Chatty Women group locally. This lady was like, it makes you infertile. And the woman said, you can't have babies if you're dead.
End of story,
She was
right?
like, you and your
True.
baby are going to die in the hospital. Like, all these women.
That's what's been happening a ton with the Delta variant with unvaccinated pregnant women. They've been dying at alarming rates.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And it will be, to me,
Oh, yeah. It's on article, like, nurses have PTSD from trying to C-section these babies out before the mom dies.
Yes, it's been insanity.
And the thing that kills me is it's like, yes, I understand last year. Why do it was much more different? Why blah blah blah? I don't know anybody who doesn't know somebody who's been in the hospital at this point. Like, you know somebody who's been in the hospital. You know somebody who's died.
Yeah.
Like, what part of that does not scare you? Like, what part of like I could get a vaccine and maybe I'll have a stroke. Maybe I'll have some weird symptoms long term. Or maybe I'll die when I get the virus and it kills me in 2 weeks. Like, what?
I don't care about me so much. I care about if I get sick and infect a bunch of other people. Yeah.
That's the other part of it. Is
That's the part I give a shit about.
Yeah.
Like,
and if you don't
I don't want to kill someone's grandma. I don't want anyone to kill my mom because they were an asshole.
Well, and that's sort of like my thought process too. Okay, you don't want to get vaccinated, then wear a mask. Then why are you against mask mandates too? Like, at what point
I want to see our children smile, though.
Oh, God.
Who
That
gives
woman
a
is a fucking joke.
That chick's nutbags.
Yeah.
Crazy,
Yeah.
by the way.
Demonic entities in the school system.
Yeah.
Where is it? Did you see she laughed at the kid talking about his grandma?
I
Yeah.
Fuck all of those women.
Yeah. People are shitty.
How are you
This is why I drink and do
nurturer and you
drugs.
do
so
shit like that?
shit like that. Gotta get that artificial serotonin
I just
somehow.
Well, here's the thing that we've learned from the pandemic. If this is what I've learned, is that a lot of people will do the nothing to prevent their fellow people from dying.
Fuck
They don't
you, I
care.
got mine.
Absolutely nothing.
So I look at it differently. I look at it like, I think if it was a suggestion, more of them would do it. The problem is, I look at it the same way I do with, if you're a kid and you're washing the dishes and your parents come in there and say, hey, you should wash those dishes, you're specifically going to stop doing it because someone told you to do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yes, they never get past that petulant child mindset.
What about what I want?
Yes. Even if they were already doing it, you'll get mad and stop for whatever reason.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's that I don't have to do what authority says.
Yeah, and think about all the companies, even mine, who's notoriously cheap, have had these incentives for people to get vaccinated. $22,000 raffle every month. If you get vaccinated and it becomes mandatory.
Can they hire me
my
part-time? I'll go in the raffle.
Yeah, right?
I get 2 admin days off.
They were supposed to be like drawn
Government for
yesterday,
you.
and I was like, let's go. But now they're waiting until Tuesday. I'm so irritated.
You get to enter anyways because you're vaccinated, right?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's what I said. I wanted to know yesterday.
Oh, yeah. 22 grand.
There's 5 prizes of 20 grand. So 22
Yeah.
grand. I'm like, why 22? Like,
110 grand, huh?
yeah. At
Interesting.
each site.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So I'm like, companies have been over backwards to incentivize, and when we make it mandatory, you're gonna bitch.
Yeah. I can get at my 3rd nipple surgery with that kind of money.
I wonder if OSHA will stand by what Biden said. Like,
I don't
I'm really curious what OSHA will say.
I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah.
If it's, I mean, literally, if it's an executive order, it's not like he's saying to do something that is dangerous, or he's saying, hey, if you're on ladders, you no longer get to wear helmets. Like,
Right.
I don't think they have a dog in that fight.
I love the people. I had a friend on Facebook. I was telling Angie who put my corporation won't even buy a blood pressure cuff for us because it says it's too expensive, and you're expecting all of us to get vaccinated. I'm like, That's because your company has to buy that BP cuff. You can go get your vaccine without them paying for
free.
it. So, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's literally, it's free real estate.
It is free.
It's free real estate.
That, and I was listening to an interview with a lady she had just immigrated here from Colombia, and she didn't understand why people were fighting to not get vaccinated because there's so many people dying.
My grandmother
South
came
America.
from Iran
And
to get
she's like,
vaccinated.
There are no vaccines. What are you people doing? Like,
Yeah.
we would kill for what you people.
Oh,
have
I
to
know.
do.
Well, Alex was on a waiting list in the UK
Yeah.
waiting for a vaccine to become available. You can just go to CVS here and
can-
get
Oh
a
my
vaccine.
God, they
You
have
go to the
vaccine
fire
rallies now.
stations
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
You
And
just
they're like,
walk
what-
in and you're like, "Can I get vaccinated?" Sure,
What-
come on.
Not only can you go get vaccinated, you get to choose which company's vaccine
That's right.
you want.
Yeah.
You want the Moderna? You want Pfizer? You want Johnson Johnson?
No, I
we
want-
got them all,
Do
baby.
you
I
want
want that
both
Johnson
of
in
them?
my
You
butt.
can get double
Yeah,
vaccinated.
we don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go for the funsy part now. Like, you can just go get vaccinated just because.
That's my kink.
I'm gonna
Vaccination
close
both
my
ways.
eyes and spin in a circle. Whatever you stick me with, homie.
Is
I'll
that
take
your
it.
penis?
I fucking hope so, dear God.
it just blows my mind. And like,
Oh, does it?
And well, but you know what? A lot of like, look at Australia. Australia is nearly 100% vaccinated. I think like the last time I had seen it, they only had 483 cases of coronavirus. Hey, they're gonna shut their borders down to us, whatever. And I don't blame them.
They got enough things killing them in Australia. They don't need
Yeah,
another
no
virus.
kidding.
I know. They're like, fuck this shit. I got a kangaroo that can kick me in the head at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I just saw a video of something that ate like a 17-foot crocodile. I don't want to go there. I just really don't. And it was like 10 feet from shore.
My Instagram waifus of it
Good.
want to visit.
But they
Don't
have
wanna go.
quokkas,
Pretty.
and quokkas are adorable.
I know. I do want to go to New Zealand, though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But I'm staying away from
Be
the
part of
shoreline.
Lord of the
I'll
Rings.
tell you that.
I think New Zealand's all shoreline. I don't think you
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
how
I'm
that
about
works.
to say Australia itself and New Zealand are countries, continents, or New Zealand's on a continent,
Yeah.
but they're also islands. Like
Yeah,
they're
I
just
get
big old
that,
islands.
but I'm gonna go up a hill.
New
and
Zealand's
look
not even a
down.
big old island. It's just,
It's just
it's just
tiny.
there.
hey, shoreline to shoreline, baby. Let's go.
That's why it only took them 3 weeks to get from Mordor after leaving Rivendell.
That makes sense.
Jesus
New
Christ.
Zealand's not big. You
Hey,
get on a wild
Lord of the
horse.
Rings is a classic, and you will goddamn respect it.
I'm gonna go knock on Lucy Lawless's door.
Unpopular
Hey,
opinion.
Lucy.
J.R.R. Tolkien sucks.
Yeah.
I do not like the Lord of the Rings novels.
The books are great.
The books are not great.
Yeah, great.
No.
The books are you spend 4 pages talking about one
The
person's
movies were great.
Yeah,
The books were.
the movies
so
made
boring.
the books much more bearable.
I
it's
mean,
true.
between the grammatical errors,
He
the
somehow
plot holes.
They spend nearly a chapter just explaining the lineage of Bilbo Baggins,
That's
who
fine
gives,
with me.
and there's no reason to.
It's like reading the Bible.
he's somehow a slower
Yeah, the
and
nerd
rice,
Bible.
which is confusing.
It's great.
it is.
Now, one thing about the movies that I really didn't like was that, one, they didn't talk about Tom Bombadil. But if they had talked about Tom Bombadil, they would have had to talk about how Gandalf isn't Gandalf.
And two, the hobbits didn't fuck each
Oh,
other.
Yeah. But, like, most people don't know Gandalf isn't a person.
Sam flat out bricks
He's
in
a
Frodo's
watcher.
mouth.
I
Yeah,
do like
like
bricks,
he
too.
came to Earth and took the persona of a elderly wizard that he thought people would
Yeah.
trust. Yeah. Spoiler alert: Gandalf isn't human.
Yeah. He's like an angel,
Gandalf isn't even
He's
terrestrial.
a watcher.
pretty much.
He's one of the watchers.
But gets involved.
I can't remember
Yeah.
his real name,
He smokes a bunch of weed.
but
Wouldn't you?
A wizard.
his
is
name
never
is a lot like Superman's name. So, but I can't remember it actually.
Coriander. Sorry.
Where can they find our names?
It's on my Facebook page.
Yeah. Yeah. You can find us at TheFreeRotation.com.
That's our website. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our names
you
are
can,
on there.
You can find us on Spotify.
Okay.
You can find us on Twitch at The Free Rotation.
Yeah, we stream there every once in a while.
You can find us on WeebyGeeks.com. We're a member of affiliates of Weeby Geeks,
Wibby Geeks. Like,
who is now the Nerd Emporium or something like that.
Called the Weeby Geeks
You can find us on Twitter
Podcast
at
Emporium.
The Free Rotation.
the free rotation.
on Twitter.
I said Twitter, right?
Twitter is TheFreeRotation Podcast.
Free Rotation Podcast.
Pornhub.
You can find us on
It's
Pornhub.
not on Pornhub.
Yes.
I will once again tell you
We
guys.
legitimately are. I created an account for us on Pornhub. Yes, I did.
And if you want to donate to my GoFundMe, it's Chris wants to build a chickensalad.com. Just as much money as you want to give.
And we have a Patreon, which we have forgotten.
I don't even know the password to Patreon
It
anymore.
doesn't matter. We have a Patreon.
We're going to start a new Patreon so you people that have money can give lovingly
Yeah.
so we can go around the country
Yeah.
and call people stupid to their face.
And those who give to our current Patreon, we appreciate it. Can you move to the new one?
We can no longer access it.
And I will
Yeah.
personally send you each of our Patreons a picture of my butthole.
Hey guys, and you know what's also important?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Because I'm
I'm
going back to
donating.
something we actually use is Twitch. It's September, so you get 20% off when you
Ooh.
sub
And you can
to.
use
September.
your free Prime.
And you can use your Amazon Prime to subscribe to our podcast. I mean, really, all we do is stream D&D right now, but you never know.
Well,
I might start doing sexual
once I
acts on
get my
there. Hot tub-
VTuber
hot tub
avatar,
stuff.
I'm gonna stream a lot more.
And if y'all want, when the new set drops, I can start streaming deck building.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
I was about to say,
Yeah.
y'all could even stream popping packs for all I give a shit.
I mean, I can
I'm
stream
gonna
deck
love
building
pimple
when I'm
popping.
working on it.
Did you say dick building?
No, pimple popping.
Oh,
Can I stream that?
deck building and dick building.
All Patreon donations get a free free picture of my sunburned feet, if that's your thing.
Sweet.
Dude, that was fucking hot.
Yes,
That
it was.
literally,
Yeah.
literally.
Oh, I'm still like.
I don't want to fucking see it in
no.
person. It was a joke.
I'm still.
I don't want to see your fucking feet.
No. My
Get them
legs
away from me.
Yeah.
Or your
Still
wiener.
super burned.
cooked.
Oh
So,
Jesus.
You talk about wearing fucking
I
shoes?
saw the blisters and I was like, oh, that's painful.
Yeah, it's not.
That's painful.
I couldn't walk.
And when sun hits the sunburn and blisters, oh,
I'll spit on them.
I
I
mean,
spit on your grave.
my wife
Okay.
rubs
Anyway.
aloe and witch hazel, and it feels so much better.
Yeah.
The witch hazel.
Yeah, the witch hazel.
Anyway,
Farewell, travelers.
Farewell.
So long.
See
Later.
you next time when we start
Be
talking
safe.
about spooky shit.
Get your vaccine.
Yas.
And if you, or I mean, you can look up everything we've talked
Or
about.
just wear a mask if you're uncomfortable with the vaccine.
That's right.
Anything to
Double
help.
mask, preferably. But just remember, the mask prevents you from spreading, not you receiving.
Eh, I'll take
so,
it though.
yeah,
Like
This
a
isn't-
condom.
This isn't for you. It's for everybody around.
that's right. That's right. Bye, everybody. Be
Love
safe.
y'all.
Toodaloo.
Bye.